What's up, guys? This is Kaz, the ELEVATEYOURCRAFT, back for another video. This one is a pretty special one. But first, current book, Brothers Karamazov, Dostoevsky. Read it. Amazing. I'm not even finished yet, and I can say that. But even in general, read books. They're awesome. Moving on. Today is a special episode of Elevate Your Craft and MTG, I guess arena, but more MTG in general. It is a journey of a beginner, sort of a segment that I want to do I wouldn't say I'm a full-blown beginner. I've been playing for almost 6 months now, so I do have some experience, kind of know what I'm doing, but don't at the same time. So I thought, why not just share that experience, you know? I watch a lot of the pros videos. I watch professional competition. I watch the videos that they release on Channel Fireball, on Star City Games. I love the insight that the pro players provide. It's amazing. I'm going to keep watching it, and I'm going to keep supporting them. But I thought, why not just provide some insight into the journey of a beginner? You know, that would be my own journey. And just key insights that I pick up, and anything subtle as far as psychology behind actual competition, as far, you know, in local games or in limited, you know, draft or sealed or whatever. And I just want to be a positive force, not only in this context, but in as many different ones or different contexts as I can. And I thought this would be really fun to do. Because we're not all pros. We're not all beginners. Some are intermediate. Some are really, really good. Maybe even professional level. But kind of in my mind, in order to be a professional, you have to earn a living doing it. So maybe my definition varies a bit. But, you know, we all relate in different ways. And I thought, hey, why not do something like this? So I got some notes here. What I'm going to do is actually talk about the sealed event that I played in yesterday. Came in 5th place, won some packs, so we're going to open these first, but then look at a few different things. So some of the key cards I picked up, I'll talk about the matchups, just letting you know what I faced, but then key mistakes that I made, you know, blatant, usually just mistakes of mechanics, just something that should have been done, whether it's by just game rules or whatever, that I just blatantly missed. But then also what I should have done with my deck. And I mean, again, I'm not too experienced, so whether it's a right decision or not, I'm not quite sure. But at the same time, going through all of this type of thing, looking back, understanding what I did, and then potentially discerning what I should have done, all this stuff is really valuable to do. So not only does this type of video and this process help me, but hopefully it will help anyone else watching, maybe if they're at the same level or just starting out playing the game. Awesome. Like I said before, just want to be a positive force in this context, but in a lot of different ones as well in my life. So we'll start off with the packs. I saved them for this occasion. We'll see what we get. I've been pretty lucky in the sealed events that I've played as far as good cards. I did a Boros pre-release, or I chose Boros in the first pre-release that I did, and then Selesnya was my second choice, but that's because I pulled some really good Selesnya cards in the first pre-release that I did. So I thought, hey, why not try and build on that momentum and see if I can pull any good Selesnya cards, because it's a deck that I might want to play in Standard. I'm really considering it, and I didn't actually mention it, but this right here in Arena is the deck that I ended up in the sealed event, so you can kind of take a look at that while I'm talking here and that kind of thing. But like I said, I will go over some of the stuff that I've come up with and my notes and all that kind of thing, so forgive me if I'm looking up and down. But anyway, first pack. Let's get this out of the way first. First things first. All right, so token. And we get a Chromatic Lantern. Okay, interesting. As you can see, I actually pulled this in the event, the sealed event. Whoops. My bad. Yeah, so pulled a Chromatic Lantern. All right, not too bad. I mean, the reprint, gotta love it. I bought one for my EDH deck or Commander deck, and fairly expensive. And then, of course, the reprint, and then I pulled two. But that's okay. That's how it goes. Otherwise, let's see. Artful Takedown, pretty good card. In limited, for sure, I don't really know the implications or the impact it'll have in standard for Dimir, but, you know, we'll see. A Sky Knight Legionnaire could be a good card for the Boros deck, and a Guildgate. Okay, so Chromatic Lantern is our rare for pack 1. Intrusive Pack Beast, the first card in the pack. Token, another bird illusion. Oh, Radical Idea, that's going to be a great card, I think, even in Standard. True Fire Captain, cool. And our rare is Mausoleum Secrets. Kind of feel like that's underwhelming, but I don't know it well enough to really, truly say that. Search your library for a black card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Hey, you know what? Maybe that's not too bad in some sort of constructed format where you mill, and you know, then this is just designed to bring out a giant creature that potentially swings the game. So who knows? Maybe it is a really good card. I'm not quite sure. We need some context there. And then other cards in the pack. Radical Idea. Direct Current. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, True Fire Captain for Boros. And then Disinformation Campaign. I think that'll be an interesting card for Dimir, and we get another Boros Guildgate. So the rare in pack number 2, Mausoleum Secrets. Okay, we move on. First card, Healer's Hawk, and we get an insect token. Awesome. Hypothesizzle. Okay, so we get a rare, and that's Emmara, Soul of the Accord. This is the third one, actually, that I've pulled from packs, so maybe this is a message. Hey, play Selesnya in Standard. So we'll see. Emmara, Soul of the Accord. Not too bad at all. And a Selesnya Guildgate. Other interesting cards. Luminous, I'm thinking more limited, I guess. Conclave Cavalier could be pretty good. And then Thought Erasure. That in Standard, I think, is a really good early option for Dimir decks. Sweet. And then the final pack for now. Let's see. Sworn Companions is the first card. What's the token? We have a soldier. All right. And we get Firemind's Research as our rare. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a charge counter on Firemind's Research. Remove target. Interesting. Okay. So, sounds... All I can say is interesting. Honestly, I have no clue. I have no clue. I can kind of see why it's... Is it... Maybe with Amulet and casting multiple sorcery spell, instants or sorceries. Who knows? So not really what I was looking for, to be honest. I'm probably looking for, not probably, I am looking for some of the Boros beasts like Tajik or Aurelia. But hey, maybe these ones will help me get there somehow. All right, so pack opening is over. So on to the sealed event. As I mentioned before, picked up Celestia, the guild pack, and some of the key cards that I pulled were, and we have them on the screen here. So Chamber Sentry, really cool card. That I pulled very early on. It was in my first pack. Saw it in action in other, or I guess other, really there's only two, but sealed events that I played in, and, you know, saw it do some work. It's pretty interesting with the 5-color dynamic. So I picked it not necessarily knowing if I was going to go into sort of a 5-color or multicolor strategy, but I thought, hey, this is a good card. And if I remember correctly, there wasn't anything else incredible in the pack. So I went with it. And then second pack, I actually pulled a Chromatic Lantern. So I thought, okay, that's interesting. This strategy becomes a little more appealing. Other key cards were the Vraska, and pulling that made me want to splash black. So I did. I added, and then I pulled a Golgari Guildgate as well, so that helped. A couple of those, and then I put in, I believe there was, that's right, there was 2 Golgari Guildgate, and then with the Chromatic Lantern, I was thinking, okay, you know, that'll act as sort of my third black mana source. So that splash, and then we'll see how it goes. And then the Conclave Tribunal is another really good card. So I thought, okay, I'll go. I wanted to go Celestia because I got the guild and I was hoping to. I wasn't necessarily married to that. However, I thought, okay, I pulled a Conclave Tribunal, a couple Luminous Bonds, the Chromatic Lantern, where is it? The Rock Charger was great, kind of like a Pegasus Courser. The Sunhome Stalwart was another good card that I pulled. And the Parhelion Patrol, which was solid. That did a lot of work for me. So I thought, okay, I have some good white cards. 2 Conclave Guild Mage with the activated abilities was pretty good. So I went with a green-white, after all, with a splash of black. And the Vraska really pushed me that way. I also pulled a Deadly Visit, but that is a topic I want to get into because I did not do that card justice. And looking back, I made some strategic errors, but also just mistakes. But I'll talk about that in a bit. So the matchups that I faced, there's 4 matches. The first was a 5-color smattering, as I call it, just a 5-color smattering, which I ended up winning. The second matchup was Golgari. It was a really interesting deck. He had a lot of the heavy hitters in the deck. I mean, he had I think it's the Lich, under something Lich. Let me just see. I don't even know if I'm spelling it correctly. Oh boy, let's see. Let's just do black here. Don't want to spend a ton of time looking for it either, but that's it. Underrealm, oh, okay, it's not L-Y. L-I-C-H. That, along with another creature with activated ability that gives all other creatures, whether it's attacking or not, I'm not sure, but Menace and +1/+1, and I think something else I'm missing, but it was absolutely insane. He was able to get, I think, 6 creatures on the battlefield and then activate that ability and just swing with everything and do like 900 damage. And I just wasn't able to deal with that. So he took game 1, and then I came back and won game 2. But both games were pretty long, so that ended up being a draw. The third matchup was Is It, and that was a really bad match. I went down to 5, I think. A mulligan down to 5, and then that 5 was pretty bad. Limited, I believe, is a little slower, so I thought, do I go to 4? But I didn't. And then the second match, I took the play, and again had a really bad draw. And then so I just got wrecked. My opponent had the cards that he needed, so it was a very quick match. And then the fourth match was versus Boros, and I ended up taking that in 2. Things went pretty smoothly, so can't really complain. Ended up going 2-1-1, which is fairly respectable, I suppose. So this next part's kind of cool, because what I usually like to do whenever I play is look at my mistakes. But then I thought, how can I take this further and add maybe feedback from opponents? And that's an interesting dynamic, because some people are just more competitive, or maybe they're just thinking more about themselves and they don't necessarily care about their opponent. They just want to win, which is fine. You know, you kind of see a lot of different personalities in any competitive endeavor, but what I've seen is it really depends. And I haven't played in any serious events or anything like that so far, so I can't weigh in on that. But through local tournaments and stuff like that, draft, I've done a lot of draft, you'll find some people that want to help you in-game, before, after. They're very happy to help you, but then you'll get others who don't say anything. Or you'll get those that don't say anything during the matches, but then afterwards will say, hey, you know, in that game, you made this mistake, so you might want to take that into account next time, things like that. I don't know. Me personally, I find that again, this could probably depend on the seriousness of the competition, you know, what I'm going for. I doubt I would do this in organized competitive tournaments and things like that. But at least in a more casual environment, I find I'm happy to help people. I find I'm happy to let them sort of undo, if you will, or change a certain action, or rewind and play it differently. Because I feel like there's a benefit to that as well. It's, you know, if you help them play optimally, I think you'll learn a little more, perhaps, because they'll make what is likely the most optimal play, and then you can react to it, or, you know, you're put into that situation where you have to deal with it, so maybe you learn something from that. So again, this is mistakes and also feedback from opponents. So this is kind of, like I said, pure just mistakes, mechanical stuff, things I missed. The first one is the Iron Shell Beetle, the trigger. So I played it, and then I thought I wasn't getting any value out of the trigger because there wasn't another creature. So I missed the trigger. I could have targeted the Iron Shell Beetle itself and then put a counter on it, put it in. I didn't, and this was a case where my opponent didn't say anything, and then they waited till the match was over and then said, actually not the match, I guess the match, yeah, so not the round but the match, and said, hey, you missed the trigger on the Iron Shell Beetle. Oh, okay, didn't know that. And then I kind of thought about it. I'm like, yeah, I would say enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature. That would have been the wording, kind of the way I was thinking of it initially, so that was just a pure mistake. Another one was, I had Vraska out, and the -3 ability, the +2 ability. You know, I had a ton of land. Any land that I was drawing, I was essentially sacrificing it to the +2, just to draw cards, gain a life. First, I actually wasn't even gaining the life. I was missing the life gain. But then I would play a land, sacrifice it, but before sacrificing it, I wouldn't float the mana, which was also feedback from my opponent. And they did that once again after the match. So that was something I thought, wow, how was I not doing that? But it's an interaction that I guess is new for me, so I wasn't really thinking about it. But anyway, if you come up in a similar situation, float your mana and then sacrifice it. The Chamber Sentry, I missed bringing it back from the graveyard, and I believe that it would have changed the outcome of the game in my favor if I didn't miss that trigger. And that is because of the Chromatic Lantern synergy. I wasn't fully aware of the synergy between the Chromatic Lantern and Chamber Sentry, even though when I actually pulled the cards, I thought, oh, this works great together. But more specifically, it was the lands you control part that I just wasn't processing. So it was, I think, a crucial mistake that, you know, could have swung the game in my favor. But hey, so know your cards, know how they interact, and it'll help. And I think that's why I love draft, because it really helps me get to know the cards in a set. But that's also why doing this type of thing is so important, because I feel like if I go into some sort of competition or play or draft or whatever it is, knowing what the card does completely should just be kind of a given. It's like, you know, if I were to go into a draft event, ideally, I just know the cards. That way, when I look at them and I see what I get, I don't even really have to consider, not even consider, but I don't have to read the card, I just know. Because then you kind of gain that confidence, and it's not using that mental energy, it's not wasting it, and then you can put your focus into looking at the average kind of value of a card, or its value in a vacuum, and then also judging synergies. Okay, how are my cards going to synergize and that kind of thing. So those were kind of the pertinent mistakes I found. I mean, I'm sure there's more. Who knows? I mean, my opponents didn't really point anything else out. But you know what? I picked up a handful, and that's important. You know, so I'm happy with that. Something else, another actually piece of feedback is combat. One thing I really need to get better at is combat-based strategy. You know, when to attack, when not to attack, when to be aggressive. And those are very difficult to gauge, but, you know, not attacking with a 1 toughness creature into one of their, say, 1 power, 2 toughness creatures. Just things that you might think are obvious, but maybe aren't, right? For newer players, or, you know, people that aren't so experienced in combat. So that's something a little more general that I'm fully aware of and really need to improve on. Now, getting to the deck side of things. So this is the 40 that I played with in the main deck, I guess. And then these are some sideboard cards. Now, the Demotion, the Crawl, Harpooner, and the 2-color, the Culprit, were the 2 most pertinent sideboard cards that I considered when crafting the deck. And the Burglar Rat and the Deadly Visit are what I should have included, I think, in my deck. And I'll go into that context. Of course, Call of the Culprit, pretty good for anything with toughness 4 or greater. Green matchups with the really big guys, things like that. It's a way to deal with them. But the first one, it relates to the Black Splash. So the couple Golgari Guild Gates and then the Chromatic Lantern. I should have played the Deadly Visit. And once again, that is going back to the Chromatic Lantern, and the lands you control have add 1 mana of any color. And I didn't realize this until, you know, afterwards. I got home and I'm looking at the deck. I'm like, how did I not play this? Especially if I splashed black. The only thing I considered was the Vraska, and I knew it was a good card, but for some reason I just didn't make that connection. So that is one card I should have, I think, included 100%. And the Burglar Rat, I think I should have included as well. It's a good card. I mean, your opponent discarding, that's great. And what I would have replaced them with is I had too many big drops. So I likely would have taken out maybe one of the Restorers and then the Flight of the Equinauts. I mean, that was a really heavy cost. And then it also just made things hard to curve out and it's something I should have noticed in my play because my opening hands tended to have one or even two of these big creatures. I'm thinking, oh, how do I curve into this? So I would have shaved a couple of creatures off the high mana curve and then put the Burglar Rat and the Deadly Visit in. That is what I should have done. So that black splash could have been a little, not even a little, a lot better. And also what I did with the culprit is because I didn't have that removal in there, I sort of had to sacrifice the Luminous Bonds, at least in my mind at the time. So I would take those out and then put in Collar the Culprit, whereas before, you know, I would have had that Deadly Visit, and then I maybe shave off a couple or one more creature here, and then maybe one 4-drop, and then include the Luminous Bonds, one or two Collar the Culprit, and then the Deadly Visit as well. So, and I know thinking back that would have helped me a lot. So did not use the Black Splash 100% effectively, and I realize that now, so that's why I included these in here. The Harpooner, anything with reach is kind of nice. I mean, I did have flyers, the Patrol, I mean, the Ledev, no, not the Ledev Guardian, where is it? Oh, maybe I didn't have that flyer. I think it's a 2-mana activation where he gets flying, but that's only on attacking, so I think that could have been a little bit better. Yeah, and I kind of got into the big drops. So that's something that I definitely should have done, is include fewer big drops. So those key synergies were tough to reconcile afterwards. I'm like, oh, how did I not figure this out? And that's something I'm finding difficult right now, is knowing those things and being able to make those connections quickly, you know, between games. Maybe you're rushed, maybe you don't want to take too long, you kind of feel pressure from your opponent who may seem pretty astute, they know what they're doing, they sideboard, or maybe they don't, in a very low amount of time, and you're kind of sitting there. So that's definitely a challenge. The Conclave Guild Mages I could have likely used a little bit better, and that's something I boarded one out for the Color of the Culprits or the Demotion, because the activated abilities were kind of key in that Golgari matchup, so I did board that one in. But I should have kept both, and like I said, maybe trimmed elsewhere, because those activated abilities can become really, really useful later in the game when you're looking to sink your mana into something. I don't think I used Flower Flourish to its maximum ability. One thing, and I probably should have known this, I never really had issues with land. So maybe kept that in the sideboard for a better use of it. But this one was kind of frustrating. This and the Centaur Peacemaker. The Centaur Peacemaker, I don't know why I kept it in the main. I should have boarded it out, because at least I think I should have, because I never wanted to give my opponent life. So it just felt bad, and I never ended up playing it because I was usually, I brought them to a low enough life total, and I thought, oh, I don't want to play. So it ended up being essentially a dead card. And another mistake I made was just not boarding it out. And I did the same thing with the Vivid Revival, where that really felt underwhelming, and that was something that was more of a hard lesson, because that was essentially a dead card too. Like, if you look, I have what, 1, 2, 3 multicolored creatures. So it's really not that great. And even if I did use it, it's 5 mana. And I don't think once had 3 multicolored cards in the graveyard. So that I didn't realize until too late. I think it was maybe the second round of my final match. So that was a big mistake, these Centaur Peacemakers and Vivid Revivals. And that's something that I really want to improve on, is just being able to make quick assessments on the fly and knowing what isn't working and what I should take out and then what I should put in place of it. So I think those are kind of the key things that I found with the deck. And I've gone over how I think the ideal would have been. So maybe taking the Vivid Revival out, the Centaur Peacemaker, and then including the Burglar Rat, the Deadly Visit, and shaving a couple of the large drops. So the Vigor Spore Worm, just the synergy isn't great. No Undergrowth. 6 mana. I think the Flight of the Equinox, it was really hard to cast, even with Convoke. You know, people have removal. There's never really that many, at least I found there weren't that many creatures on the board where convoking it down was worth it. So I would have taken this out, I think, and the Worm, and then added maybe a main deck Caller the Culprit. And I did have a couple of other, you know, say 2 or 3 drops, and maybe replaced or put those in place of the higher curve creatures. So, I mean, I definitely want the creature presence in Selesnya in this kind of deck, I think. Not only for Convoke, I did have the Loxodons with that ability, the Conclave Tribunal, and then the Lead of Guardian. So there were some synergies, so I think it was okay to play. However, like I said, it could have been a little bit better, but that's okay. You know, live and learn. That's what I should have done with the deck. I think revisiting these kinds of things is important, and now I know. So for the next, I mean, I'm going to be drafting this set a lot, so I think it'll help. I think it'll help with that. So anyway, that was the sealed experience. Anything else? I think I've covered it all. Anything that I wanted to talk about anyway. Yeah, a lot of it right now is kind of just the psychology, you know, absorbing as much as possible and changing my mindset toward understanding why I won and why I lost, as opposed to just thinking of the outcome. Am I going to lose? Am I going to win? Well, even if I win, why did I win? Why was I ahead? What happened that put me ahead? If I lost, okay, why? Why did I lose? You know, those types of questions are very important. And I think you have to train yourself to ask. So that's what I'm looking to do. That's what I'm hoping to provide some insight on in these videos, and just kind of talk about the process of being a Magic the Gathering beginner. It's a really hard game. Anyway, so I think that's it for the sealed discussion. Once again, this was the deck, of course, with a little bit of modifications that I detailed there. So, yeah, invalid deck. The Boros Aggro deck is one I've built, a standard deck that I've built right now. I'll likely make some modifications to it. This is an early iteration of a Todd Stevens deck, but I've seen another one now with, you know, Chain Whirlers and 3 Tajik, 2 Swiftblade Vindicators. It's similar, but not quite this straightforward, I suppose. But anyway, let's get a game in. Why not just close it off with a game? Competitive play, Boros Aggro. I'm kind of drawn to Selesnya right now. I think I'd like to try it out in standard. So I'll just kind of wait to see what insights come out there on the web, what people are saying about it, whatever I can think of. I've pulled some good Selesnya cards, so I have the resource, some of them, not all of them, that's for sure. But you know, I'll get perhaps a head start on building the deck in paper anyway. So while we're waiting, Elevate Your Craft is the page. I also discuss calisthenics and jump rope. That's something that I am really good with and talk a lot about. So be sure to check that out. Facebook is the heaviest presence. Wow. Okay, I am going to mulligan this one. However, that's okay. I think I'll keep that. So they've mulliganed to 6. But I'm also on Twitter under EYCKAS, Tumblr EYCKAS, and of course YouTube. Elevate Your Craft, all one word. And they've mulliganed to 4. Yikes. So we get a scry. I think we will put that to the bottom. So opponent low on resources right now. I think we do this, play the banneret, and go. So they're looking at the card, maybe it's new for them. So it looks like it's an Is It matchup. Sacred Foundry, I mean, life I think will be important with Is It, so maybe I play that next turn if I don't get a 3-drop and I play it in tapped. So let's go to combat. I can pump it. No, I want to play the Boros Challenger. Is there anything I can do with Mentor here? I don't think so. The Goblin's attacking. All right, so we'll go to combat. Damage, we'll play the Challenger. So if we survive, if the Goblin Banneret survives, it'll be getting a Mentor trigger. That's something I got to get used to too, is dealing with these triggers. Looks like it's a bit slow for my opponent. They're getting tap lands. They were down to 4. So they have 1 mana right now, blue and red. Okay, so we can really put some pressure on them. If we want, which I think is fairly decent, because right now, I mean, I'll play the Boros Challenger. That'll leave 1 mana. You know, if I pump something, why not? They are low on resources. Go to combat, attack. Okay, 2 attackers. That's fine. And before damage, we'll use the integrity. Okay, so they are going to 2 damage. I think I do this. So I want the white source. So I tap red. Okay, then we'll play that. The Enigma Drake. Okay, that 4 toughness is a little annoying. But we do have Tajik, so this is good. That is a really, really good draw. 3 with haste. I mean, they're not going to take... They're not going to take out the Banneret with Mentor. So what happened last turn? I think that should have had a Mentor trigger, but maybe not. Okay, so we're in good shape, but again, I mean, they're at 4 now. My opponent mulliganed down to... They're at 4 mana, and then my... Okay, so I was going to say, my opponent mulliganed to 4. That's really tough to come back from, if you don't, I guess, get the ideal draw. So they are... Is it? Is there anything that I can think of here? So they're instants, sorceries. If they get creatures on the ground, maybe I want more flyers. Maybe counters. Do I need Ixalan's Binding? And I'll be on the draw, so... I think these are less... impactful. Deafening Clarion. Lifelink, or I don't know if those will be too impactful, to be honest. Maybe I get Lyra in to get some flyers. And for Ixalan's Binding, I think might be nice for Niv Mizzet or something really big that comes out. Shave one of these for Citywide Bust. So they might have Niv Mizzet the Perrin, or however you say the Perun, however you say that. Right, it's something big that they can just throw right in front of my squad. Wow, look at that. Gotta mulligan that. Gotta mulligan that. Wow, this is interesting. I can play the Sacred Foundry, get Hunted Witness down. And I do have a couple 2-mana plays. And I'm on the draw, so... Not great. Definitely not great, but having Aurelia is nice. Okay, so we do get... Let's just pay 2 life. Hunted Witness. There we go. So we do get a second land, so we'll be able to play the Swiftblade Vindicator. Is he going to get Shivan fired? Maybe he's holding that back to not give me the token. So that's something we got to keep in mind, is Shivan Fire and also kicked Shivan Fire. So they're leaving 2 mana up. So I think I play the Challenger. Because I have a feel... Well, actually... Yeah, the Vindicator, I think if I play that, it's just going to get... Shivan fired. So let's go to combat. We'll attack. And then play the Boros Challenger. The store is currently offline while we work to bring it back. Okay. Okay, fair enough. I'm okay with that. I still get value. That we'll be able to mentor. Damage, none. And we'll play that. And the 3 toughness is nice, because the Shivan Fires, the shocks don't quite take out the Challenger. I mean, a kicked Shivan Fire does, but... they have 1 blue source. Interesting, okay. Another Boros Challenger. No mana. So we're stuck on 2 mana. We do have a couple... We have 3 2-mana plays. So he can jumpstart array. Oh, okay. Hand, attack with a creature this turn. So that's 5 mana. So they're not quite there. play another one. Okay, so we do get the lifelink. They're at 1 blue source, so I don't really know if Izzet would play many counters. Yeah, I think they would. So they have 2 now, so I always forget the name of that counter. The sort of disallow replacement. Okay, Aven Wind Mage we can take out with Lightning Strike. They're at 4 mana now, so they did make a land drop. Oh, this is not great. I think I need to put as much pressure as I can right now. So I'll take out the Aven Wind Mage, get a Mentor trigger on the Soldier. And then hopefully I pull a land next turn to play Tajik. Shivan Fire, 1 mana open. So they're deliberating a little too much, I think, yeah. Not have it, so. Fair enough. They've used a fair amount of removal, I think, right about now. I mean, Shock, a Repeating Barrage, and a Shivan Fire. So, okay, wow, they are just full of removal. Wow, okay, hook me a land, please. That would be excellent. So they have that. All right, that's good. So I think we attack with the Swiftblade Vindicator before playing Tajik, because they might be tempted to play that. I mean, they are hovering over it. I think it just brings it to hand, though. Yeah, okay. Combat. So they might do this on ends. Oh, wait. Only if you attacked, okay, with a creature. So they can't do it on my end step or anything like that. But Tajik is probably going to die. Oh, he has haste. Shoot, I should have played him. That is too bad. Okay. Oh, no. That is a mistake. Okay, so they've done nothing. They didn't bring it back to their hand, so maybe I have some reprieve from this mistake. If I hit a 4th mana, I think I'm fairly set. I mean, I have 3 4-drops. Yikes. Okay, and they've conceded. Alright, so maybe they just weren't getting what they needed. They used a lot of their removal on my early stuff. And if I'm not drawing land, I'm drawing spells. So, bound to have all creatures here. Temporary store downtime. Emergency maintenance on the store at this time. Please be patient while we update our servers. Okay. Alright, we've got a couple rewards. Let's see what we got. Corset 19, Nicol Bolas, hook me up. Sarkhan's Unsealing, that's okay. And we get a rare wildcard. Sweet. Aurelia, hook me up. Ral, is it Viceroy? Okay, Mythic, I'll take it. Don't know that I'm really drawn to playing Is It, but you never know. Excuse me. Things change. So it's nice having the Planeswalkers. So where am I at? 0 Mythic Rare, 2 Rare. Oh, you know what? That actually reminded me. In the latest Sealed, I actually forgot Emmara. So this lovely card right here, that was in my deck as well. So that was in the 2 drops. Another great card that I was fortunate enough to pull. I now have 3 of them in paper, which is great. But that was part of the deck as well. I forgot about that. And adding it on here was forcing me to use a rare wild card, so I couldn't. So if you notice, there might have been 39 cards there. That's why. It's the one Emmara Soul the Accord that I forgot earlier on in the video. But that was part of it, so just wanted to point that out if things weren't making sense. But anyway. Okay, so we got a victory there. I'm digging the Boros deck. I think I'm going to test that and Celestia fairly heavily. We'll see. We'll see. I'll play some local games. I mean, Standard's going to change at the end of this week. It's exciting. So go to the local stores and play with some people, see what they're saying, all that kind of thing. But hopefully the journey of a beginner concept is useful. I just want to share as much as I can. Like I said, be a positive force in the context of Magic, but also just in general, you know, just be a positive force. Maybe help 1, 2, however many people, if I can, and keep it going. So I think that's it for me. We got 1 quick game in there. We had a victory. But it was a little unfortunate for my opponent, the mulligan to 4, you know, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's it for me right now. I am going to do some writing. I did mention reading at the beginning of this, but also write as well. Write what's on your mind, articulate it. It will help you. It'll make you a better thinker. It will make you a better person. So I'm gonna go do that for half an hour or so, and then I'm gonna hit the gym. So don't really know what I'm gonna do tonight at the gym. I'll think of that on the fly. I've talked about this in vlogs before, but I don't keep too much of a structure anymore. I have an idea of what I need, and then I do it. But as far as, you know, on paper, writing everything down, the exercises, the reps, not really into that at the moment. But it's getting a little chilly out, so the workouts have been indoors. And I miss the bars, the calisthenics, the pull-up bars, the dip bars, all that kind of stuff. But we'll get there. So anyway, read, write, and be active, and play some Magic too. That's it for me, guys. You take it easy.